Hey everyone, welcome back to Humans and AI, where we explore the fascinating world of humans and technology that is shaping our future. I'm your host, Adima Zolkar, your product design and AI expert, and the creator of an online leaders program, Unlocking the Power of Generative AI. And today we're diving into a realm of generative AI and its impact on user experience with the true expert in the field. Joining us is VP of Product from DID, a company pushing the boundaries of AI powered video technology, preparing to hear insight or on how generative AI is evolving user interfaces and creating more natural, intuitive experiences for everyone. Hi, Tomer.
Hey, how are you? Great to be here.
So happy that you're here with me. Tomer Zuker is the VP of Marketing at DID. And I'm sure that many of you know this company. We're going to discuss that even further. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And now we can start. What are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities for companies working with generative AI?
Yeah, so a big question. First of
Yeah,
all, the industry is quite, young and fresh. So I think one of the main challenges is to first of all understand what the technology can deliver for us, how it can help us. Now there is a strong feeling of FOMO, fearing of missing out in the industry because everybody, is talking about Gen AI and ChatGPT and such, whatever. So you can see a lot of companies rushing in to this industry without taking a deep breath and first of all understand what are the pain points they're trying to solve. um, to take this kind of adoption or exploration in a more structured way, like any other technology. You know, think about CRM, think about marketing automation, whatever. We were in these hypes in these hypes before in the history, right? Um, and there is a certain specific point in time that then where companies and professionals realized that there is not like one magic, right, one silver bullet that can solve all the problem. Marketing automation is great, but the automation part is not really automation. There is a lot
yeah,
of manual work in order to gain real benefits out of that. It's the same for Gen AI. It's completely revolutionize the way we interact with the machines and create content and such. We're going to talk about user interface afterwards, but I would start first of all with understanding what are my needs. And I think this is like the one challenge. The other challenge is the the quantity of Gen AI tools that currently available in the market. And it's
right,
crazy because currently we are talking about between 8,000 to 10,000 of Gen AI tools. It's crazy. I
right.
believe that by the end of this session, 5 to 6 new Gen AI tools will come to the world. So in this anomaly of the market, I think it's hard to control all the new categories and on the new tools. It's impossible. So again, it's going back to the first point I mentioned. First of all, understand what are your needs, then look for the most compatible tool that
Yeah.
it's out there.
Yeah. So if some of our users, audience don't know about DID, could you tell us a bit like what you're doing and how do you utilize generative AI in order to do so?
Yeah, actually, the idea was in Gen AI before anyone called it Gen AI. So the company was established in 2017 as a cybersecurity company. The core algorithm and technology of the company help people to prevent AI tools to steal their image. It's like the opposite side of AI. And in 2021, the founders did a pivot and used the core technology in order to create synthetic media, um, what we call today generative AI. So the core technology allows users to take one still image of human face and convert it into a token avatar. And this avatar can speak in more than around 120 languages and more than 500 dialects. And year to date, more than 180 million of digital people, avatars, have been created through our platform. So it's amazing. So the company create digital people. Now, few months ago, 3 months ago, we created a new type of avatar. We call it DAD agent. Now, DAD agents, and it's mind blowing. It's an avatar that can converse in real time using its own voice, and your interaction, the user interaction, also using their own voice. We call it natural using interface. So
Yeah.
today, the maturity of the technology allows us to interact with machines in the most natural way we can deliver, because using mouse and keyboard, it's something that is more related to the old school of GUI, graphical user interface. But now we just can just speak with technology. So we launched DID agents a few months ago, and already a few tens of thousands of agents have been created, and people do that with that creative thing.
Yeah. Like when I a few years back, I was an expert in voice design, for assistants like, like Siri and Alexa and all that. And back then, we talked about the option to understand, for example, if you have the most successful salesperson or successful support person, you could just take their core capabilities, knowledge, what they're doing, and then multiply them
Yeah.
and create these kinds of agents. And we talked about that like back then, and it was not a full blown possibility back then. But right now, you could do that. You could go to a company and say, okay, this is your support team or a customer care team.
Hmm.
Who is the best customer care person you have, right? And just multiply him into
Definitely.
each country in their own language and in their own dialect, in the way that they're perceived in their culture, even just to get better results personalized to their end customers.
Yeah, definitely. Our main target audiences, those that we believe that can benefit from, the most from our platform, are marketing managers, sales managers, and customer support or customer success. Now, I think when you look back in the short history of Siri, Cortana, or Alexa and such, there were it's very different from the current LLM, the large language models, because those assistants were quite, script. You had to interact with them with commands, right? You order them what to do, right? Now using LLMs, it's not this type of interaction. It's more conversation. You converse with them in the same way you interact with real human being. So the sentiment is quite different. I think this is one different. And the other different, and it's the most significant one, that Siri and Alexa, sorry, don't have a face.
Right.
So we bring the face, we bring the brain, we bring the voice, and we can bring the gestures. So so this kind of experience, it's more echoing or resonating with real time or real life experience, which makes the technology more compelling and more engaging versus the previous generation of personal assistants. And we see um, that the face is a significant parameter when you are talking about interaction with human beings, because us as human beings are hardwired to interact with other human beings. This is how evolution brought us to be what we are today. We trust people. So you don't speak with an apple, right? You prefer to engage not with objects but with people. And trust is a key component when you talk about marketing and sales and support and teaching, and even use cases like treatments and healthcare. So I think the combination between the brain, the LLM, the face, the gestures, the voice, and even sentiment analysis to understand the emotion and to reflect the emotions by the avatars bring a new type of experience to businesses and enterprises.
Yeah. What we had with Siri was more strict. First, it was created manually. So you had very specific use cases and flows you could talk to. And in many cases, the conversation would be stuck because it got to a dead end. Now it's continuing in a very fluent way. And second, the voices that were created were just the beginning. They were not like real human being with all
Yeah,
the nuance. And what you're mentioning about the sentiment analysis was very in early stage, and it's like it's two ways. First, you watch a person that is talking to the machine, you could understand their faces, and on the other side the machine it has these expressions, so it has a
exactly,
face and the expression, so it's very natural in that aspect. So do
exactly.
you imagine that many of the salespeople would be uh, replaced? What do you
Yeah,
see?
it's a hard to predict what will happen because the advancement of the technology is it's crazy. But I believe that some of the interaction, the basic or fundamental interactions, can be done by the avatar of the salesperson, like to create a digital twin of the salesperson. And the more complicated, from emotional point of view, interaction, or more complex from a business point of view, will still be handled by human beings. I think again from we're talking about mainly around the, let's say, B2B, business to business, sales processes and such. It's almost like cliche, but we are talking about P2P, people to people, person to person. It's true. There are, in the B2B, the sales cycle are quite long, and the nature of the sales process is quite complex. There is no one single, decision makers. There is a buying committee, multiple, touch points and such. So there is a complexity over there. So even though AI will be integrated into the process, I believe, at least in the near future, it will be as an augmentation of the salesperson, and not like a replacement of the salesperson. There are some scenarios that the interaction is quite basic. So think about SDRs, a sales development representative, for instance. The most common interaction is to qualify the lead, right? There is like a very concrete and structured method how to do that. You can use Bant, you can use Medic, whatever. There is like various methods over there. So you can train the agent or the avatar how to ask those type of questions and extract the answers or the insights based on the conversation, and create this kind of qualified lead, what we call, right? And maybe hand over that to a real salesperson. uh, I believe that using these type of avatars and agents, the capacity of the sales team will increase. They will be able to handle more clients, more prospects, and at the same time with the same resources. So I see a combination, and we currently, we are talking about how AI can, be a complementary platform to human beings, not as a replacement.
Yeah. I think that what we see right now is in the context of what we currently know. And even if we take something very extreme, like a therapist, most people say, I would not use a machine for a therapist. I want to sit with a person that understands me and feel my feelings and empathy and all of that. But even in that context, you already have machines as therapists. It could be in a chat or
Yeah.
as an assistant. And I think that what we will see is an augmentation of the current process. So once a week, I will go for an hour for a real therapist, and throughout the week, I would have this like companion coach or a therapist that would go with me throughout the day,
Yeah,
and
and it,
then
it
in the
it's
end,
available, yeah, and available 24/7 and whatever. It can learn about you, your style. It will have a memory. We will not start the conversation from scratch, and the technology is there. So there are some interesting research that have been done about the empathic capabilities of ChatGPT, and they found that in average they are higher than the medical doctors. I don't know what it says about doctors, but it says something about ChatGPT. So, and by the way, I believe that in some use cases, people will prefer to interact with machine and not with real human being. There are some, sensitivities or privacy issues, whatever, that people will prefer to interact with the AI, and that's completely fine. Um, I, I- I think the magic happen once you offer two ways to interact with human beings and machines, and you'll find the right sweet spot to do each one of them.
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience. No, it's Hak. Thank you for joining us. What AI is currently lacking is the ability to understand real human emotions, like those we do not convey via words or tone of voice, such as the data emotion logic is providing.
Yeah. So again, the technology is there. We know how to measure the tone of the voice and the tension of the voice. With computer vision, we can identify the human gestures and the hand gestures, and you can analyze the text. If you generate text with the
Mhm.
interaction, you just need to combine everything together and create this kind of picture about the emotional situation where the human being is stated. Now again, it's early stage of technology, right? Let's not don't forget that. Okay. Generative AI is quite new industry, but the most fundamental components are not new. Computer vision, it's not new. NLP, it's not natural language processing, it's not new. People talk about AI for decades, since the 50s of the previous century. But now it reached to I think this level of maturity, where everything can be combined together, and you don't need to know code. I think this is like the big differences. You can interact with Gen AI without understanding computer vision, NLP, and code, and I think this fact leads to the explosion of GPT and all the rest of the Gen AI market. So
Yeah.
I believe, Noah, that again, we'll see in the upcoming month a lot of breakthroughs regarding the emotional layers of
Yeah.
ChatGPT and such. And I cannot disclose information, but there are very interesting projects even here, that happening around the emotional layers of avatars and agents.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil, for your questions. By the way, the question is not if the AI is understanding, because emotions is something that you cannot really understand. If, even us as humans don't understand our own emotions sometimes. The question is if we are as users feel emotional experience when we are interacting with machines.
Ah,
And I
okay.
think that we're in that direction. We don't know how the machine would experience that, of course. We just have the feeling when we're talking to these kinds of assistants and avatars.
So there are some very interesting researches that have been made or done in that field. I read research from the Texas University, and also from Maastricht University in the Netherlands. They found out that when people interact with avatars, the same areas in their brains are being active as they interact with real human beings. So from physical and also from psychology and neurology point of view, the experience was similar to interacting with human beings. By the way, these insights brought us the idea to develop the agents, because people can interact with agents and avatar in the same way they do with human beings, and we know that there is a huge shortage in skilled human beings around the world. So you can close the gap using AI. Just to give you an example, by the recent report of the UN regarding education from February 2024, by the year of 2030, if I'm not wrong, there will be a shortage of around 40 millions of teachers in the world. Now, there is a lack of teachers, and you would like to take care of the next generation. How you can close the gap, right? Using this kind of virtual teachers and avatars, you can bring a personalized experience of teaching to each of the students and pupils and such. So you know, so
Yeah.
you can play each way around.
Yeah. By the way, did you see the demo from the Khan Academy guy with his son in the
No,
OpenAI demo day?
no.
So he took his son and they need to solve a geometry problem. I just saw it
Okay,
and then I said, okay, that's not for me. Geometry,
okay.
math, it's not for me. And then the new ChatGPT 4.0
Yeah,
talked to them and explained to them how to do that. And it really made sense to have someone who is first understanding your misunderstanding of the material and has the patience and understands you and want to solve it for you, and it's always available. So that's a really great thing. On
yeah.
the other
I
side, I'm
yeah.
thinking
Sorry.
about like you have this great technology, and instead of utilizing it in a direction of saying like now we're going to revolutionize everything in education, not only the way that we teach or personalized teaching, but what are we teaching, what is important.
Yeah.
It's like taking a very small path, as I see it, to having like personal tutors who are AI assistants actually.
Yeah, it's quite wider, spectrum of use cases when you can deploy AI in teaching and learning. I delivered a presentation a few months ago in a big convention around education. I can say there is a growing interest and curiosity from teachers and principals about the adoption of Gen AI. It's still not like from a national point of view, but some of the schools and universities already have adopted Gen AI as part of the programs, and it's amazing to see. By the way, you mentioned this kind of demo, so I didn't see the demo, but I used ChatGPT 4 to try to help my daughter to solve some exercise in physics. The result was so, but
Really?
I've seen the potential. I've seen the
Yeah.
potential. And
Yeah.
the computer vision and the voice model of ChatGPT 4.0 are crazy. Are crazy. I love to play with that. Really love
Yeah.
to play with that.
As I see get to what I taught said about the therapist, that you have a therapist once a week, you go for an hour. The same goes for education. If you want to learn something, it's not enough to go to school and then somebody lectures and sometimes you listen, sometimes you're not, sometimes you're concentrated, sometimes you're not, and sometimes you're engaged, you're interested, and sometimes you're not. When you have someone who could elaborate the topic and other things related to it and explain it in different ways, in the way that you are interested in hearing and the way that you could understand, that could be a very huge gap, especially for people who could not afford private
Exactly.
tutors all the time. Like I have 4 kids. I could say that one of the worst thing I could do is to sit together with them and do homework. I try
Okay,
not to do it.
I can relate with
And
that.
I hate it. And then when I take it into the tutors, I'm saying like, it's like, it doesn't make sense because sometimes they're like great teachers. And sometimes it's like, if there is not a match between the teacher and my kid, I'm just driving back and forth and paying lots of money. And
I
that's it.
totally agree. So think about a situation where the teacher can duplicate itself, themselves, whatever, and to have like 24/7 personal teacher that can help the student after school times and such. Think about even a companion that can help students to um, cope with bully at schools. Someone from this kind of emotional point of view, or even like a simulator. Think about you would like to practice something, a debate, at schools, whatever. So it's endless. You have all the
Right.
components, and you are able to adjust them to your own needs. Um, under the assumption that there is a shortage in human beings. Human beings are luxury. This is like a luxury product. We don't have them all, right? I would be happy as a business owner to have 1,000 salesperson, but I don't have the money to do that. But with Gen AI, I can create a team of 1,000 account executives that can speak in 40 languages and bring a lot of value to my prospect and customers. Now it's possible.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few use cases that the ID could generate value and create natural user interfaces in order to connect. Could you imagine that in some cases it will not be appropriate to use these kinds, and the people would just prefer to go to the forums or to go to a regular chat with text, or what would be a best use case for that?
Yeah, first of all, we are learning the behavior of the market because it's quite new. What I'm sure that there will be some use cases where there will be no added value of using an avatar or a human face. In some use cases, people will prefer to use only text, for instance. I give an example, right? On WhatsApp, you have this kind the ability of record messages, right? I really hate that.
Yeah.
Personally, I really hate that. I think most of the user hate that. But there are,
No, they
some use.
like to create the message. They don't like to
Yeah,
get the message.
yeah, it's annoying, right? It's annoying.
Yeah.
But they offer that because in some specific scenarios it makes sense. So it will be the same in some cases. People will prefer to interact with human like avatars with hyper realistic photo image. In some cases they will prefer to interact with avatar with a fictional image, not a hyper realistic photo. In some cases they will prefer to interact with voice or with text. I think the challenge is to identify the human behavior, what are their preferences, and we are on our way to better understand the behavior of human beings. I truly believe that with the evolvement of the Gen AI, we will create new form of interaction with technology, and it's part of the evolution. It's really hard to predict what will happen, but something will happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it will go somewhere in the middle as I see it, because in some cases you would prefer to see everything up front. For example, if you're shopping on a store, going to Amazon, you will want to find a specific dress. You would
Hmm.
not want someone to express everything in like this is a this type of option and this type of option, because when you're talking, it's like serial. It's one after the other. When your vision is all up front, you could see everything in one vision in one site. So if you want to see lots of options and then just search and find exactly what you want, in these use cases it makes more sense to use a vision of a page
Hmm.
of scrolling. Another option would be if it's something very specific. For example, if I want to enter my credit card, I prefer to write it down than to say it, because maybe I don't pronounce it as well. The machine would make a mistake on the way, and then it will be again and again in order to understand. Or maybe I don't want to express it like for someone to hear, and I wanted it to be like more intimate. So in these cases, maybe I would not want to say it out loud. On other cases, like something that is more like flowing, for example, I'm calling a customer care and I want to explain, I want a refund because this is and this doesn't work, and doing some kind of a negotiation about it. It makes sense that I would prefer to talk to a salesperson or to an avatar in that case.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I think in the end we'll find the right, you know, opportunities or the right, scenarios where we prefer to interact with avatar or an agent and such. But you mentioned something interesting about the shopping experience. It's one of the use cases that we are being asked a lot. Think about like a personal shopper or advisor that can escort you during the shopping journey. They can recommend specific pieces. They know your flavors and your shopping history. They can encourage you to to add additional items, to do some upsell and cross sales and such. So once there is a certain amount of trust between you and the avatar, I believe this kind of joint shopping experience can be very compelling.
Yeah,
uh
it
you're going to have
depends. Yeah,
okay. I'm
I
a
would
man,
say
I
like
don't know, I'm a man.
so I would say like if it's a stylist that I would,
Yeah,
I really trust her, or maybe it's someone that I truly do know, maybe an influencer from
yeah.
fashion influencer that I really would love to hear what they think, and I would go take one of these fashion influencer and take them with me in order to see like what is like a trendy thing to wear and what doesn't fit my the way that I dress usually, or my body shape, whatever.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I would even imagine that if I want to go and buy a football, I would love that. I know Messi would come over and say, okay, I think this is a good brand or something. So I
Yeah,
could
definitely.
imagine that. Another thing
Mhm.
that comes to my mind is the age of the shopper, because young people, they're into that for sure. You know, they live in the digital world, they live with influencers, they live in social media. They're really interested in interacting with machines,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
even sometimes I think they find it intimidating to talk to people.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why they're texting all the time instead of like speaking. Like talking over the phone is like, wow, like it's too much to have this conversation fluently. So maybe in these cases it will really turn out like as a great idea.
yeah.
um
It's
that's a,
interesting, yeah. You can, I'm a Gen X, right? We are like migrated from the analog world to the digital world, whatever. Let's think about Gen Z, right? They are like native digital, generation. But what about the alpha or the next generation? They will be native AI generation. So, the interaction with AI and avatar will be something that is quite natural for them. AI will be everywhere. It will be immersed in our day-to-day life. It will be even hard to imagine how we handle our world without AI. Think about now on Google in a retrospective outlook. How did we search before Google? We went to the libraries.
no,
There is something,
the yellow pages,
the or yellow
this
pages,
book.
whatever. Right, but now it's even hard to imagine that you don't have the information at the tipping of your points finger, sorry. So
Mhm.
it will be the same. It will be the
Yeah,
same. Now again, from an evolution point of view, whatever, I'm not I don't want, I'm not a prophet, but I think it will impact the way we interact with other human beings and with technology. Definitely there will be
yeah.
something else.
So we have Rachel Schaefer saying that in customer experience world, this is talked about daily. So just thinking about what is AI and customer experience and what is the meaning of that. So thanks, Rachel, for joining us. I think that what we're seeing now is just the beginning of first the capacities of the technology. Maybe now it's a bit slower to get the performance is a bit like slower. It's not as fluent as it could be in the future. The processors would be much better. We'll get a better experience with that. Another thing that comes to my mind is that we as customers would get used to doing lots of actions that are currently done, and we hate doing that through AI. Like for example, I just imagine if I could have an assistant. It doesn't matter for me if it's a caller that will call someone on my behalf, or just do it like manually, to go to all the service providers and to talk
Yeah.
about my packages and licenses and all of that. I hate it. And currently I'm calling my brother, who is a bit like he is I wouldn't say like he doesn't like to do things. This is how I would say.
Okay. Okay.
So I
Okay.
need to really beg for him to help me in that. So just imagine that if I would have someone that would do that, like things that I really hate for me, it
Yeah.
could be like amazing.
It will. And by the way, it's not the things that you really hate to do. It's even the things that you don't have an advantage as human being to do. Think about repetitive tasks. Okay, we as human beings are not really good at repetitive tasks. We are doing a lot of errors. We are getting, weak or whatever. We are doing a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes cost a lot of money. Think about insurance company, right? Dealing with the claims and whatever. Once you integrate AI and add a layer of automation and even orchestration, you can decrease the number of human errors, and you can keep your human personnel to the more sophisticated and more um, complex challenges or tasks that you need the human creativity or the emotional layer of human beings. And I think again, we'll find the spots where there is an advantage of us as human beings, and the places when an AI can do the work better than us. And it will enforce us to adjust ourselves to the new reality. Like any kind of other revolution in the history. Think about the industrial revolution. It will be the same.
How can businesses best leverage generative AI to create a more human centric user experience?
Um, so again, I think it starts with the exploration to identify those touch points where the experience of the user or the customers is not sufficient enough. You have some KPIs like NPS or any kind of satisfaction survey, whatever. When you can identify those touch points where there is a lack of satisfaction by the users, to that you can find the right component from AI, like avatars. It's easy for me to speak about avatars, but additional layers like voice cloning and any kind of other Gen AI tools that can close the gap and create this kind of more engaging experience and improve the customer experience. Let's take an easy example, right? I mentioned that we as at DID we can offer allow our user to interact with the avatars in 120 languages. Now think about, we know from researchers and also from real life, and I'm doing a lot of tests all the time, that people prefer the local language, you know, and it's going back to the matter of um, trust and understanding and engagement with between the user and the brand. So if you can offer a personalized and a localized experience with your users or customers, the satisfaction rate will be much higher. Now, today, you have limitation. You don't have people, most of the businesses don't have people that can interact in multiple languages. You have to pick. Most of the time it will be English or any other of, main language. So it damaged their potential to generate revenue. And only those richest organizations, corporation, can afford themselves to manage high volume of multiple help desk and such. Now with Gen AI, it's almost like we have lowered the bar and allowed more businesses to benefit from the same virtues as big organization. It's almost like democratizing all the benefits
Mhm.
for the masses.
Yeah. I think that Sam Altman said that it will not be long until we have like 10 people doing a unicorn because they could just utilize their talents and do it much more with AI.
Yeah.
We're almost done because we don't have much time. What are the main challenges for AI startups today?
I think I can think about two challenges. First of all, is coming from the strategy and the product point of view. How product development can benefit from all the AI components that are available today. So AI can generate a competitive advantage. Not using AI, can lead to a disaster in that sense. You have to be in the front line of the industry, and it's a challenge because the industry is evolving so fast. Um, so this is one challenge, and the other challenge, I believe, is the adoption of AI by the employees themselves. It's not only related to startups, but any kind of organization. I just wrote an article around the hiring or firing, to hire or fire chief AI officer. There is a new title now in the market, chief AI officer. So think about, you need to adopt AI not from the single tool perspective, but as a whole. What is your AI strategy? Which kind of departments will adopt AI? How they will use that? What about security? What about compliance? What about privacy? There are a lot of consideration to make, and I think the combination between the advancement or the integration of AI within the product from one hand, and the adoption of AI by human beings from another perspective, and even questions about job security, I would say, bring a lot of challenges. Think about QA managers and developers. I'm not talking about marketing managers and such. There are some concerns over there, right? Will AI replace us or not? It's going back to our discussions. I think these type of challenges that startups can face.
Yeah. So, what is your number one tip for entrepreneurs today?
Start today. So yeah, this is like the best tip I can share. Um, Currently there are something between 8,000 to 10,000 of AI tools. It's crazy, right? Nobody can adopt or even explore this amount of tools. My recommendation is to pick the right tools for your organizations, in terms of the cost, in terms of the skill set and the training and such, and to see how you can adopt them within the organization, and do that today, please.
Yeah. So, Tomer, thank you for your time. It's been very like insightful and fun to talk to you. And I wish we could maybe you could have another episode afterwards. Where could people
My
hear
pleasure.
more about the idea and your work and contact you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'll be happy to join again.
Sure. Sure. So, if somebody wants to contact you, should they use LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm all the time on LinkedIn. So yeah, look for Tomer Zuker. I'm there. I'll be happy to answer any kind of question.
Thank you. And we'll see you again in another episode really soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much. Bye bye.